It's to record now. Okay. And this is our 6th session, and it's called, or the topic today is called repetitive patterns. And today I'm going to give you some information on two main repetitive patterns, let's put it this way, because there were ones that we learned from our parents, from whoever took care of us, from our family. And then we also have the ones that we felt. So that's the difference. So the ones that we learned when before 5, we learned by seeing and by listening. So everything that or the ways that I learned about life and the world and how everything's go was because I had the best models at home. Maybe mom and dad, or maybe other members of the family or grandparents, or it was all the conditioning that we got from not only our parents, but then later on from beliefs, for example, socio-cultural ways to do things, or the ways that we were taught. Yes, we needed to adapt to that because our parents wanted us to adjust to that, because that's the only way to be accepted. So if you want to be accepted, you have to behave this way. You have to think this way. You have to believe this way. So all of that learning that came from that time created a memory. Those are memories that are pulsing, yes, in our unconscious mind, especially before 5. All of those were our programming for life. Now let's talk about the ones we felt, because the ones we learned was by seeing and by listening. But the ones we felt also have a big impression on us. We felt it. It's like it's part of it's like when something happens, any impacting situation happens, then you feel it. Like your nervous system feel it first, then it goes to your emotions, limbic system, to see what it is, and then it goes to the mind and says, this is it. So that impression is like a print at a cellular level, emotional level, mental level. And this is all connected to our wounds. Did I feel abandoned? Because maybe a kid could have felt abandoned because mom and dad left to work and leave you with, in kindergarten. And the teacher was grabbing you, and the kid was feeling like, oh my God, my mom is just abandoning, leaving me here by myself, I'm alone, and they were crying. And maybe this kid felt abandoned. But mom and dad came back in the afternoon, but that was your perception. And that was what created this wound. I spoke about the wounds on the last session. Some of them are, if you want more information on the wounds, they are on my YouTube channel. There are 5 main wounds: abandonment, rejection, betrayal, humiliation, and injustice. And I have a better description of each. And once you listen to that information, you can say, maybe this one is mine. Or we have more than one. We have 1 or 2, or maybe 3. We have them all, but there is 1 or 2 that are stronger. So did you feel maybe rejected? Did you feel maybe betrayed? Maybe a new baby was born, and I was like, oh my God, my father who loves me so much is gonna love my sister more than me. So, and it feels like it's sort of a betrayal.
So Maya, how I'm not sure how these are different as far as and then also how it creates a repetitive pattern. So I guess, would it be possible for you to give an example of the the conditioning one, how the conditioning can create a repetitive pattern?
Yes, yes. For example, mom and dad tell you, let's talk about beliefs. We maybe in this family we are Christians, and Christians is spirituality, and you have to follow this because otherwise you can go to hell. Let's put it this way. So that's a sort of a conditioning. Or maybe you went to school and then your teacher told you you're not good at math, right? And maybe that was an impression, that's a memory. And then you say, I'm not good at math. The kid already thinks it's not good at math because he maybe put 5 figures together to ended up saying that was 5, maybe. And the teacher didn't have the patience and maybe said that, and then the kid is saying, I'm not good enough. I'm not good at math. And then maybe when he grows up, that memory is still pulsing. That's like in your unconscious mind, right? And the other one is in your unconscious as well, but it's felt. It's like it's harder, the wounds are harder than the thoughts. Because the thoughts are in the mind, and you can reprogram those when you find that, oh, this person told me this, maybe that's why I'm thinking this way. I can reprogram that. Because I can say, I'm good at math. Yes, I am good at math. And maybe you can practice yourself and become very good and say, yes, I broke that pattern. But what about the ones you felt? I cannot tell myself, yes, I felt abandoned and I'm not gonna feel abandoned anymore. But what about if my best friend goes to another country, how would I feel? Oh, it's just a sadness that I don't know how to change because I feel abandoned. It's like it comes back, but what comes back is the feeling. And that's why it hurts so much. And now the question here is, why did I feel in my life, why did I felt abandoned or betrayed or rejected? Because maybe any of the 2 parents couldn't resolve it. Because usually we are experiencing the same wounds as our parents. And our parents got to experience that because their parents couldn't resolve as well. So it is a repetitive pattern. So let's talk a little bit about this. Let's talk about the perspectives first, the thoughts. The thoughts, these thoughts, those limiting thoughts that we learn, because this is how it happened. Let's say your father or your mother sees you eating hamburgers and Coke, and they tell you that's bad food, don't eat that. But then they take you to McDonald's when they are in a hurry because that is like the easiest way, right? So, and then how can you teach your kid? You're saying something, but doing something different. So they get confused. But they learn then that you can say this and do it another way. See, that's what you're teaching your kids by doing this. Not only teaching them that to eat this sort of food or don't eat it, but I eat it. Let's put it this way. So they get confused because she's saying something, but it doesn't make sense because she's doing it this way. So when they grow up, they learn the same, maybe to say something, but not to do it. So that maybe becomes a betrayal for them. Let's put it this way. Maybe that's a sort of a betrayal, but I don't understand. Or maybe she tells me this, but then does it differently. So maybe I will feel betrayed. It depends on each person how it will receive the information. Because any event happens and each of us is gonna feel it differently, depending on our wound. So that's how it happens. So all of this conditioning and all of this learning isn't functional. Isn't functional and is kind of outdated. Because if it worked for them in the past, maybe it's not working for us today. And that's why we need to reprogram that. Yes, I have because I have a program that is called Hero's Journey. And in Hero's Journey, we have one of the sessions, one of the experiences, because we're going to live an experience today with the constellations, but I also do all the reprogramming that I do it based on experiences. Because it's not just about understanding that, oh, that was my thought, I can change it. Yes, I can change it, I can change it, I can change it. And then I keep saying, keep in your mind, I'm going to think positive, I'm going to do it, but it doesn't happen. Because we need to have a new experience where I can feel intelligent enough. So I recreate this scenery, let's put it this way, like we are in a play and then we are in the same situation where the teacher is telling me this, and maybe I can tell the teacher, but maybe if you explain more to me, I know I can do it better. Or maybe that's your perception, but I know I can do it better. Or things like that. It's like we recreate that here in a scene. And we will be doing that online, hopefully soon, because that's my goal, to do all of these changing experiences where we also can change our mind through experiences instead of just thinking that I can do it, or understanding that this is my issue and I have to change it by thinking affirmative, because that's going to take us a longer way to get there. So what we need to do is to change those memories. And for that, we need those experiences. And for example, I call it acts of empowerment. Those are the acts of empowerment. We can change those perspectives with the acts of empowerment, or we can change those feelings with the family constellation. Because we need to work both soul and mind. But first, soul. Because once I heal these wounds, then it's a lot easier to connect to anything, believe me. It's a lot easier to connect with any other information, any other things that I want to change. It's just that the soul speaks a lot and it needs attention. It needs our attention. Our soul speaks and we need to listen to it. So when we were children, right, we used to admire maybe mom and dad, because if they weren't there, we wouldn't be able to survive. So they were like the best, like the best for us was mom and dad, right? Our models are, then the time comes when the boy falls in love with mom and the girl falls in love with the father, and all of these stages, right? But at certain, like for example, in the terrible trees, kids is like, oh, but I don't want that, I don't want that. They kind of fight it, right? But you have to tell your kids, no, but you have to wear this. No, but you have to do it this way. No, but so all of this is creating not only a repression, because all of this no's, it somehow creates a repression in a kid, right? Then when you become teenager, same thing happens. You want to cut that cord. I don't want to do it like you. So it's a sort of the shadow starts like coming up. And that's why sometimes they become, they just don't care. They just throw those words or those attitudes, and because that's a natural stage. Yeah, it's not easy for parents, but that's what it is. And we can, it's hard because we struggle with that. And then we say, maybe you listen to yourself when you were a teenager saying, I'm not gonna be like my mom, or I'm not gonna do it like my father, right? But when you're a mother or a father, eventually you're telling your kids and you're saying just the same thing, and you're like, oh, did I say it the same way? And you're like, oh my God, I was like listening to my mom and dad, and the same words come out, right? Because we have those memories. We were trained in that way, so they still come out, and we need to change that. And we have a variety of subjects that we could touch today about it, but I'm just going to mention some. Let's talk about what a family is, for example. Oh, a family in the past, right? I would say mom, dad, and children. right? But today we can see that it's not like that. It could be a single mother and a boy, or a single mother with 2 kids, or a father with kids, or a gay couple with kids, or now you can mention it because they're all sort of families. So for us to start changing that chip, because kids or teenagers already see it natural, like normal, right? But for the ones that come from another generation, probably we are like still like trying to change that and adjusting to the new changes. Let's talk about God. Who is God for us? And for example, who could be God for the kids now, right? Like what did they teach you about God, or the beliefs that could be limiting you? Don't do that because that's bad. And you can go, this could happen to you if you do it this way. And maybe it's a sort of manipulation there. And we learn how to be manipulated by the way our beliefs, for example. Let's talk about money. What did your parents teach you about money? Money doesn't grow in trees, for example. Right? And you're like, oh, you have to work so hard. You have to go to a college and university and get a loan and then look for a job and work on a good company, and so you can get the Social Security money and retire, and then you can go travel, right? But if you see these teenagers today, they just go to YouTube and speak a lot of nonsense things, and they are famous and making a lot of money. Didn't go to college or anything like it. So breaking those patterns is very important. The way we think, because that was the way we thought. That was like the way we were taught in our time, maybe. Let's talk about sexuality, right? All the taboos that are in sexuality based on that's a sin, maybe, especially for women. There is a lot of shame and guilt on enjoying sexuality, and that's why we still have issues with the relationship have issues because of that, and no one tells them, or not many people tells their issues, but they are happening. Or what about the status? You know, like sometimes the parents expect their kids to marry someone that is more accomplished or more successful. That's all the perspectives. So it's all about the perspectives that still apply. And not only that, if we go further in the past, we are carrying all the memories from our ancestors. That's why the conflicts that we are living today are happening. Because I would say clearly here, slavery happened. And the system is compensating the law of equilibrium that I spoke at the beginning. So it goes beyond our family system. It is all in the humanity, and it's all coming back in a different way, in a modern world that seems different, but it's not. The same treatment they did, they are doing the same thing. So those things need transformation, and the transformation needs to begin within each of us, because the order starts here within each of us. If I create order within me, within my family system, then outside in the world, I will live the same harmonious order. I will experience that. I don't have to do much. It is. That's how quantum works. Let's put it this way. If we go to the energy level. And so I'm going to talk a little bit now, speaking of the system, about certain loyalties, the invisible loyalties that we have to the system, of why we repeat all of this. For loyalty, why do we have loyalty to our system? Because before, if you see I was seeing a movie, The Quest for Fire. And that was from the cavemen, you know. And that was very interesting to see this, that they used to live in, they were already organized in a system, right? And if you were out of the system, out of the group, what will happen to you? Animals will come eat you. Another native tribe crazy thing will eat you too. It was about surviving. Everything was about surviving. If you weren't in a tribe, the possibility was that you would be eaten or killed or you would die, because also they at least kept, warm to each other. So all of these situations that they were depending on nature. They didn't have probably the intelligence to develop many things. They were just connected to, they were part of nature, like another animal, right? So they were just flowing with that and trying to see how they could do it better, but that was the beginning. So if we see that memory, we have a loyalty to the system to be together, right? Because I cannot survive if I'm not in the system. And this is how it happens. So if saying that, if we go back, look to where we went to main cave. If we come to these modern times, or throughout all the memories that happen in history, you wouldn't live because you wouldn't survive. And if your parent or your father tells you, you cannot do that, you better do it this way because that's the way that works, then maybe you would say it, oh, that's right, that's how they did it, maybe that's how it works, I'm not gonna do it differently. So I'm being loyal to the clan, because if I don't do it as them, then I won't be able to be successful, or I won't be able to make it. I won't be able to survive, and I want to survive. I want to be able to make it. So I'll do it just like you. Otherwise, I'm betraying my clan. I'm betraying my clan if I don't do it like them. So I do it just like you. That's one of the things that we need to start observing, because we tend to do that. This is an invisible loyalty. It's a repetitive pattern, right? I'll do it just like you. What about, I won't do it better than you? Because that's also a betrayal. The other one we could say is more an abandonment. Like if I leave you, it's like I will abandon you, and I don't want to abandon you. Or if I do it better than you, then I'm betraying you. So maybe I want to be successful. Maybe I want to become a millionaire, and I have this essence or energy of being a business person, and I'm going to make it differently. And my family was too poor, and I want to make it big. And I have these ideas, and I have, this leadership, within you. And then maybe you work on it. But at a certain point, you self-sabotage. You self-sabotage because you don't want to do it better than them, because it's a betrayal.
Sabotage.
Sabotage, I'm sorry. Yes,
I think it's French, so I'm not sure I'm getting it right, but sabotage.
Sabotage, exactly. Thank you for correcting me. And you can correct me anytime, because this is my English, and if you don't understand me, please say, what did she say? Because I'm trying to explain this with my accent. So I hope you guys are understanding what I'm saying.
Thank you for explaining, Maya, why I seemed rude. So it's because you gave me permission or asked me to help.
Yes, I did give him permission. I also give you permission as well. If someone says, what was that word? Or you can say it this way, I will appreciate it, actually, because I want to improve my English so I can communicate better. Thank you, Dan. So I was saying that we have probably, maybe the family has an issue with a poor mind. Maybe they have money, but they say that they don't have money. for example, or things like that. So those things is that you keep, I won't do it differently than you, because I still want to belong to the tribe, to the clan. If I'm not happy, I'm not gonna be happy if you weren't happy. So maybe if anybody, any of the women in my family found a good husband and maybe I'm doing it, at certain point I will sabotage my life. Sabotage, did I say it right? My life, because I cannot be happy if you weren't happy. Or I can or my mom, if you went through betrayal, then maybe I will find someone else to betray me as well. If your husband abandoned you, maybe I will find a husband that can abandon me too. See how it works? It is the same memory that is repeating because we have these loyalties and it's all unconscious. So we have those three. I don't do it better than you. I would do it just like you. Or have another one. Or I do it just like you. Did I say that? Yeah, those three. I do it just like you. I don't do it better than you. Or I do it for you as well. It could be like this. I do it for you is this. If there is a member in the family, like mom and dad, that is going through something, the child within ourselves, because it's our inner child, that would say, you're dying, mom, then I will die for you. I will die for you. Or I will get sick. I will get the same disease for you. Or I will, it's like that loyalty. I will do it for you, mom. Or I will do it for you, dad. So that's why we have these loyalties that don't help us. We have the loyalty to the clan. And so the question here is, where are you now? With all of this information that I gave you, you know, where are you now with your limiting beliefs or the conditioning that you got? And what did I felt as a child? Those are the things that I need to review and see if I can do something to change that, because otherwise I won't be able to do. No success, no relationships are gonna work. I'm gonna still doing the same or attracting, because I'm attracting, because that's the secret, right? I'm attracting what is here. And if it's here, well, that's what I get. I cannot ask for what I don't have. So if I change this here, then I can definitely attract something different in my life. And that's how it works. And we need to take some action, because it's not going to happen just by thinking that I want it. We need to change. And the change happens by doing maybe these experiences. It's an opportunity, it's a possibility. It's not the only one. Maybe there are more out there, but this is the one I'm sharing because it just, I believe in it. I can see, I have many testimonials of how people have been changing because of this, and also myself. So that's why I decided to share this information. And I hope it works for you as well. Okay, so this was the information, that the topic for today. I'm not gonna give you more intellectual information. I think I gave you enough. And now we need to move on and go to the experience so you can really know what it is.
Yeah, can you reiterate what you said? You covered a lot with respect. At the very beginning, you said something about, I think you said the family constellations, you see that as soul work, and then some certain other types of healing, maybe counseling, you see as the mind work. So if you could just say, I guess reiterate that or just clarify that.
Yes, the family constellations. And what else?
I wasn't sure what type of modality you were talking about that would work on the mind. Maybe hypnosis.
Oh, because no, the family constellations for the feelings, to change the feelings of that, And then the acts of empowerment, which is a part of the experiences that we do in groups. Or I can do them one-on-one, but it's really good when we do it in groups because the energy is like really pulsing and we all get to feel that change because it's also changing a feeling of how I thought and how I can think now and feel comfortable with it.
I see. Okay, so both of those are for change. One's for changing the feeling more, the family constellation, and the acts of empowerment is more for changing the thoughts.
Yes,
Okay,
exactly.
thank
Yes,
you.
yes, you're welcome. So I'm going to stop the recording here and we can go and move on to the family constellation. And I'll see you next week with the next week is our last step of the journey. And the next or the following, the last step is related to it's called, we're going to be talking about something that is very deep. That's the last step, but actually we will be seeing those 3 psychological stages that we have within ourselves. Because it's not only, we think we are a conscious adult, but most of it, we tend to go to our inner child a lot. Most of what we think, actually, most of our transactions is called a transactional work. And most of our transactions with others begin in the inner child. So if we don't take care of that, we begin in the wrong place. And that's why we have these conflicts. Or we go to the role of mom and dad and become the word that, excuse my language, bitchy. Oh, you should do it. Why aren't you doing it this way? So it's like going through these 3 psychologies within you, make you understand a lot. And that's what we will be doing next week. Because once we get to understand all of our psychology, it'll be better for us to become more conscious of ourselves and our communication with others, our relationships, our everything. So I'm gonna leave it here and I'll see you next week, hopefully. I'm gonna stop the recording here because we're going to get into our family constellation experience. Thank you for being here.